Follow Patrick Mooney, our Cubs insider, all season long here on Comcast Sportsnet. Brought to you by nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. Visit Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. We've got Patrick with us in the booth to kind of break down this trade. And I just want to finish, get your thoughts on a point I was going to make as we went to break. And I actually tweeted an article from 538.com about top prospects according to Baseball America and kind of what you end up getting from those guys. I think it's important to note that it's the top prospects that you really want. Those guys end up over the course of their careers kind of producing the most wins above replacement. It's not as if the Cubs are just gathering a bunch of top 100 prospects. As JD mentioned, they're getting some of the best in the game today. Yeah, those 1% type guys. And you know, I was just listening back over to Theo's conference call when I was downstairs, and the point I left it at was he was saying how hard it is to build around a young pitching core. And obviously Cubs fans remember Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, but if you look at kind of the New York Mets now, you know, if you have guys with Tommy John, you know, injuries, attrition, but these guys that they got are, you know, safer type bets, and they think that these guys are coming and they'll be up here pretty soon. So your overall reaction to the timing of the deal, did you sense earlier this week that it was this close to happening? It sounded like the guys who were dealt were surprised. Samardzija was supposed to be on the mound today. Yeah, I think the A's were in a unique situation where I don't think anyone else probably could have got those two guys because they had that Addison Russell trade chip, and they had the need and kind of the aggressiveness. One out here in the inning as Villanueva strikes out. That'll bring up Junior late. Based on your conversations with people, do you feel like the Cubs are done, or will it be a busy month? I think certainly there's a couple more guys in there, pieces they can move. You know, everyone's kind of wondering who's next. I think probably the biggest deal is though is what are they going to do with all these shortstops? Eventually they might have to make a move there, and then certainly just, you know, where they're going to find the pitching. With all these prospects, do you put them together to get a frontline pitcher, or you just establish a bat? They can go in a lot of different directions.
Sure, yeah, I think that's the value in acquiring as many guys as they have. If they decide they need to trade for pitching down the road, they've got some chips that they could do that with. And ideally, you're trading then for a pitcher who's maybe a little bit younger and somebody you could control for a number of years.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there are no guarantees, especially when you're talking about prospects. But as you just said, Patrick, they're taking the safest route you can take in terms of building your minor league system by going the position player path. And then you look at what they've been able to do to develop a rotation, to develop a bullpen. We've mentioned Chris Bosio and the pitching infrastructure the Cubs have. The way I look at it right now, the biggest challenge is going to be getting or developing a #1 starter. The minute you trade Jeff Samardzija, you're kind of looking for the next Samardzija. So that's kind of the biggest chip that may be the last thing to fall in place. And Theo explained their thinking earlier today of just, if you look at the game now, the way it's tilting, it's hard to find those impact premium bats, and that you look up and down pitching staffs, and everyone's throwing, it seems, upper 90s. That, you know, there's a lot of options out there, and that they feel like they've really put themselves in a position where they can kind of hoard all these bats and figure out, you know, what they want to do with it, and that it's harder and harder to find offensive forces. I guess the analogy would be the fantasy football. If there's a position that's really, really deep, you kind of wait and take your quarterback in the 6th round, but you go, well, there are only 4 or 5 top wide receivers, so you better grab one now, and that's what the Cubs are doing based on the landscape. Yeah. People can understand the fantasy football analogy, yeah. I know that. 3-2 on Ruggiano. So it was a night of fireworks, I guess, literally and figuratively, for the Cubs last night. Yeah, and Jason Hamill went out with a bang. That was good for us. That was a nice little story there at the end. And Theo said he left him a voicemail saying, "I totally understand why you said that." The pitch count thing, but that, you know, they had kind of had an inkling, you know, that it was heading this way earlier in the day, and that
extend him.
In the corner on the warning track as Ruggiero is bidding for his third homer in as many games, but comes up a little bit short. Patrick, thanks for the time, and read more Patrick's analysis. CSNChicago.com.